When Joe Clyde Daniels was initially reported missing on April 4th, 2018, the Dickson County community rallied in support to find him. He was presumed dead a few days later. 3 years after Joe Clyde's initial disappearance, his body still has not been found, and the Dickson County community still wants answers about what exactly happened to 5-year-old baby Joe, who was autistic and nonverbal. Joseph Daniels, Joe Clyde's father, is charged with criminal homicide in the case. June 1st marked the beginning of the father's trial. Here's a timeline of dates from the Tennessean archives to make the events of Joe Clyde's case easier to understand. April 4th, 2018. One of Joseph Daniels' children came to tell him that 5-year-old Joe Clyde had urinated. I then told them to get their butts in the bed. Baby Joe started laughing, so I beat him. That's when he ran out the front door. Baby Joe ran to the road. I saw a car drive by. I ran out and got him back in the house. I beat him some more. That's when I killed baby Joe. Joseph Daniels, who was 28 at the time of Joe Clyde's disappearance, also later told investigators, "That night, I got into my car and drove down McElhenney Road, and I got baby Joe out of the trunk. I had my wife's cell phone in my left hand, using it as a flashlight, and baby Joe was over my right shoulder." At some point on April 4th, Joseph Daniels called 911 to report his son as missing. The Dickson County community began searching for young Joe Clyde. April 5th. A few hours after Joe Clyde's initial disappearance, a McEwen man driving down Garners Creek Road, where the Daniels family lives, saw a person wearing what looked like a skeleton t-shirt. According to a written statement from the McEwen witness, later referenced in a hearing, the person, who looked like almost a teenager, was standing 10 or 15 feet away from the road. Another statement later presented in court recorded that a Dickson County woman driving at that time observed a man standing next to the guardrail on the east side of the road. She said she was positive the man was Joseph Daniels. April 6th. In an interrogation and failed polygraph administered by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Joseph Daniels admitting to hitting his son Joe Clyde in the head with a closed fist several times and in the face a few times. Joseph Daniels has since retracted this confession, saying he was coerced. April 7th. The community-wide search for Joe Clyde ended. Joseph Daniels confessed to killing Joe and hiding his body, taking it to a remote area. Investigators announced his confession at a news conference, and Joseph Daniels was arrested and charged with criminal homicide. He was kept at the Dickson County Jail on a $1 million bond. April 10th. According to court documents, 27-year-old Crystal Daniels, Joe Clyde's mother, admitted to investigators to being present when Joseph Daniels intentionally caused the death of their son in the Garners Creek home. She was arrested and charged with aggravated child neglect or endangerment and held on $1 million bond. The affidavit read that Crystal Daniels failed to report the abuse and resulting homicide. May 2018. 2 more searches for Joe Clyde took place, both inconclusive. June 4th. Joseph and Crystal Daniels appeared for a preliminary court hearing at the Dickson County General Sessions Court in Charlotte. The case was moved to the Dickson County Grand Jury. June 2018. In a special called session of the Dickson County Grand Jury, Crystal Daniels was indicted on counts of criminal responsibility, aggravated child neglect, and filing a false report. Joseph Ray Daniels was indicted on counts of first-degree murder, felony murder, aggravated child abuse, filing a false report and tampering with evidence. October 2018. A letter signed with the initials J.D. arrived at the home of Joseph Clyde and Bill Daniels, Joseph Daniels' father and stepmother. The letter, according to both public defender Jake Lockhart and Joseph Daniels himself, was from Joseph Daniels, despite it unintentionally appearing to be anonymous. Joseph Daniels claimed in the letter that Joe Clyde was still alive, that another man is involved with Joe's disappearance, and that he believes Crystal got Joe's clothes, packed them into a bag, and left Joe on the side of the road. July 1st, 2019. A recorded phone conversation revealed Joseph Daniels telling his father that Crystal Daniels killed Joe Clyde with a pillow. Joseph Daniels claimed that Crystal Daniels threatened to kill him. May 21st, 2020. Officials obtained a search warrant and dug along the Daniels' backyard fence at the home on Garners Creek Road. They found 26 bones and bone fragments. TBI and Agent Zachary Burkhart referenced a video from April 4th, 2018, taken on the security camera of a nearby home. The video showed that no car appeared to have left the Daniels home early that morning, although lights in the background could have been a car leaving the Daniels home. Interesting. I'm going to read that again. The video showed that no car appeared to have left the Daniels home early that morning, although lights in the background could have been a car leaving the Daniels home. Okay, got it. April 2021. Hearings for Joseph Daniels and Crystal Daniels began. June 1st, 2021. Jury selection begins for trial of Joseph Daniels. Dispatcher Chelsea Lampley answered the 911 call from Joseph Daniels on April 4th, 2018, when he reported his son missing and claimed he had escaped. She testified that, at the time, she noticed Joseph Daniels seemed extremely calm on the call.
Two, three, four. Yep, okay. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 1. That's all? Good job. What is it that you're wanting? Apple. Hey, Joe, look at me, buddy. Look, I don't have an apple. I'm so sorry. Do you want me to bring you an apple on Thursday? Are you so mad at me because I don't have apples? Hey, be nice. I'm sorry. I really am sorry.
So by now, beautiful people, you've realized that we're talking about baby Joe Daniels. He also went missing from Tennessee. And I'm just doing what I like to do, love to do, and I'm trying to tell his story. Remember, when we roll through these stories, we start from the beginning so we can understand everything that transpired up until this point. So let's keep rolling.
This comes on the second night officials are combing Dixon County for the little boy who went missing early Wednesday morning.
Our Nick Barris just got off the phone with Joseph about his son, and here's what Daniels told Nick. Like everyone else, Joseph doesn't know why his son simply vanished. He had wandered off before during the day, but was easily found, but he had never left at night.
Many have wondered why we haven't seen Joe's parents searching for him. Well, Joseph tells our Nick Barris investigators suggested he and his wife not join the search crews because their scent might throw off canine units. He also said police have questioned both him and his wife.
Joseph hopes his little boy is still out there and somehow staying warm tonight, but he is also seriously considering the possibility the 5-year-old was abducted. Now, the sheriff says they don't suspect foul play, but they can't rule it out.
It was another grueling day for both law enforcement and volunteers who have spent hours looking for little Joe. News Channel 5's Jonquil Newland spent the day with those volunteers, and she joins us in Dixon County with the latest on the search.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Today's efforts were focused on expanding that search radius a little further out from this point here on Garners Creek Road. Now, the sheriff just gave us an update about 40 minutes ago and told us that there are a few official crews out right now continuing that search with special infrared technology and GPS technology. However, earlier today, there were loads of volunteers lending their hand and helping in the search. And we spoke to one volunteer who actually spent more than 2 hours on the road to get here to help in the search.
Anthony Lyle, Steve Hurdle, Josh.
Day number 2 in the search for little Joe Daniels began with loads of volunteers. On this day, they were separated into groups, loaded onto buses, and taken out to areas not yet canvassed by officials.
I hope we find this boy here soon.
Lou. Anything? No.
Spread out across a tough terrain, volunteers searched every culvert, barn, and creek.
We'll try to get this baby out here, so that's what we're hoping for.
Over and under barbed wire, through ditches and up and down steep hills, these volunteers trek through thorns, briar, mud, and rocks looking for Joe. Susan Townsend spent more than 2 hours on the road to get here.
I have a special needs son. He's 11 years old, and he is also nonverbal.
When she saw the story about Joe's disappearance, she knew she had to help.
Because we know that that's what we would want everybody to do if it was Isaac.
Day 2 ended with no sign of the 5-year-old, but overnight, officials will continue their search. Now, the sheriff's office and investigators here in this area are no longer encouraging volunteers to come out tonight. However, they did say at 9 a.m. tomorrow, head over to the Friendship Baptist Church here on Garners Creek Road in Dixon County, and that's when they will again take volunteers out to help in the search for Joe Daniels. In Dixon County, I'm Jonquil Newland, News Channel 5.
Jonquil, thank you.
So, does any of this sound familiar? Baby just vanished, walked off from his own home. Lo and behold, it's in Tennessee this time again. Just like summer. Oh, I'm so tired of these stories. I'm not tired of sharing them. I'm just tired of them happening. So tired. As you can see, the TBI issued an endangered child alert. Joseph Daniels, age 5 years old, height 4 feet, weight 65 pounds, hair blonde, eyes blue. This was released on April 4th, 2018 at 8:06 in the morning. He's missing from Dixon, Tennessee. He is still missing. Call 1-800-TBI-FIND if you have any information about where he is, dead or alive. That handsome little man. He's out there somewhere. He's still out there somewhere.
Desperate search continues right now for a 5-year-old boy missing for more than 24 hours. Joe Clyde Daniels disappeared from his home Tuesday night, but no one's giving up hope just yet. And News Channel 5's Sophie Nielsen-Colding is following this search in Dixon. Sophie, they're asking volunteers for help now.
Right, and volunteers have been helping since last night. I just spoke to one man, actually, who says he's been here since 8 o'clock yesterday morning, just because he's from here, knows the area, figure he can be of help. He told me that yesterday, as part of their search, they actually drained some of the ponds around here over around Joe Clyde's home, hoping to find the boy. They have TBI out here, Dixon County Sheriff's Office, a bunch of different agencies looking. Last night, people were also looking, just combing fields, doing grid searches, trying to find this little boy. We know that Joe Clyde is 5 years old, left his home after 5 o'clock, left his home on Tuesday after his parents had put him to bed. It is freezing cold out here. There's a freeze warning here in Dixon County, and I can tell you from standing out here right now, it's bitterly cold, and this little boy is wearing nothing more than his pajamas, which are described as black pajamas with a skeleton on them. Just one of the reasons people are out here so desperately hoping to find him.
That's why I'm here, because I don't know what I would do if it were me. So I want to help.
The TBI says that Joe Clyde is nonverbal. He doesn't speak, and that he has an autism spectrum disorder. Important to note if you happen to be the one who finds him. The search for volunteers is happening this morning. 9 a.m. is when they're asking people to meet up at the Friendship Baptist Church here in Dixon. That's on Highway 70 West. Live in Dixon, Sophie Nielsen-Colding, News Channel 5.
So at this point, 5 years old, you're out there in the bitter cold in your pajamas. And not even imagine.
A 5-year-old boy unable to speak is still missing tonight.
The desperate search for little Joe Clyde Daniels continues, and the worry now, Carrie, is the temperature.
It's terrible. News Channel 5's Jason Lamb is live in Dixon for us. And Jason, it is expected to get below freezing tonight.
That's right, and that's why some of the elements of this search for Joe Clyde Daniels are continuing even though the sun is down, including infrared helicopters that we can hear in the air right now. All this on a day where this community truly pulled together. Tennessee's nickname as the Volunteer State may never have proved more true than it did today in Dixon County.
I would know if my kid was missing, then I would want everybody to be looking for it.
Yeah. As hundreds of unpaid neighbors, friends, and parents helped search for hope hidden in a waist-high field.
Just cross the nights, that way we double check everything.
Ashley Jenkins was one of those who said she'd help search for Joe Daniels, a 5-year-old autistic boy who can't speak. He left his home last night after his parents put him to bed.
That's why I'm here, because I don't know what I would do if it were me. So I want to help.
We'll get in there. Meticulous grid searches aided by GPS turned up no sign of the 5-year-old.
That field looks pretty deep. He could be laying down or something, but I feel like the helicopters would have seen it.
Searches by air and even by canine didn't turn up anything either. And with nightfall approaching, the call was made for neighbors to try again tomorrow. A search for hope that these volunteers say they will never give up.
No. No. You can't. Nobody can. I mean, as a parent, you just can't do that.
Now, if you are turned away from your TV set or your screen, we want to give you another look at this boy. So pay attention here. This is Joe Clyde Daniels. Again, he's 5 years old, and he was last wearing black pajamas with a skeleton on it. Now, that little amount of clothing is why they're so concerned about the freezing temperatures tonight. More crews will be out here again tomorrow starting at 7:30 a.m. And if you want to help right now, you can share some images of this boy. We have some images I've pinned to my Facebook page in a post. Just go to Jason Lamb NC5 on Facebook and you can share it from there. Live in Dixon County. Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
So credit and much love to Jason Lamb, News Channel 5. Please go over and find him on his Facebook. All I did was literally search for, and I did a Google search. I didn't go straight into Facebook. And I searched Jason Lamb, NC5, Joe Daniels. And it brought me right in. I'm going to share a little bit, but as they said, he followed the case from beginning to end. So I bet there's some good stuff. Even if I don't get to it all, you should check it out. And also, I know that Nick Barris mentioned when he was doing his Summer Wells Facebook Live that he also covered Joe Daniels. So I will be looking into Nick's coverage as well. He's very thorough, and I like that. But just to give a quick shout out for Nick as well. Let's look at a little bit of Jason's footage. And remember, this is still very early on in the missing or endangered alert. And the weather's starting to get really bad. It's going to basically freeze over. So they're trying to get as much done as they can before that happens on this particular night.
But yes, there were search dogs out there, Lori, and a lot of them have been operating further away, I should say, further away from this large scene, because they want those dogs to be able to pick up on the boy's scent, on Joe's scent, and not get confused or distracted by other human scents in the area. You know, Rebecca's asking about how much ground they've covered. I don't know a specific number. I haven't had an opportunity to look at the map, the GPS map that the Sheriff's Department and others may be using, but it has got to be several square miles, if not even several dozen, just because this is just such a big search with so many people, including volunteers, out here looking for him. So, okay, hey, Katie, thank you for this information. Might be useful. She just posted that they did indeed stop registering volunteers around 4 o'clock. We knew that, but she says her husband's there, and he says another group is doing solo searches. So these may be just people that are out on their own looking for this boy as the sun sets and we get toward a cold night here in Dixon. All right, for those of you who are just joining us, I know more people are tuning into this Facebook Live. And please, if you have just joined it, share this live video to your page. Share it to others to spread the word. This is a live, active search going on in Dixon, Tennessee for a 5-year-old autistic boy who is nonverbal. He does not speak. He walked out of his home sometime overnight last night, early into the morning. His name is Joe Daniels. He somehow managed to unlock a door and walk away, and his parents discovered that around 6:30 this morning. He was last seen wearing black PJs with a skeleton on it. Just a incredible search continuing on live here on Facebook. So if you have just joined, share this video to your page as this search continues and the THP helicopters continue overhead. Again, the THP is going to continue with air coverage. They will continue with air coverage after the sun goes down. They have infrared heat sensitive cameras that might be able to spot people outside even though they can't see them because it'd be so dark out. That will continue. We don't know exactly what else will happen. The crews are meeting right now to discuss that. All the different agencies talking about what resources are available to them, be it ATVs or ground searches or what else may be out there tonight. But the THP still out there with their helicopter looking in the waning hours of daylight that they have left. And yes, Ron, they have searched the houses, barns, everything in the area. We were out there live with them earlier. In fact, if you like my page, Jason Lamb, NC5, you can see some of our previous live videos on my timeline where we were in lockstep with some of these crews, volunteers, mind you, who are out here looking for Joe Daniels. A lot of people watching now from across the country. This is a story that is making national headlines at this point, this search for a 5-year-old boy. And I can tell just in the last 20 minutes or so. Oh.
I know it's a little hard to hear him. Remember, there are outside helicopters going. But basically what he just said is that they have exhausted, everything. Not that they're stopping, but that they have checked every pond. They are using sonar. They are really, really looking for baby Joe at this time.
On the resources we have. If I put every deputy we have out here, first off, I wouldn't be able to because we're still answering responses for calls for service that's going on. But even if we had that, we wouldn't have the volume of personnel that we have from all the agencies coming together. Plus the specialties with each agency for training that they do.
What do you think that says about the people in this community, out here, many of them obviously on their own time looking for this boy?
It's just a care and compassion of people that, especially that grown up in this community or live here, and they respect one another and know each other, and we know that it could be us tomorrow in the same situation, that we have to call upon our neighbors, our friends, and our agencies to help us in the same circumstances.
How large has been the area that you guys have searched on foot, and then maybe have seen overhead, just as a general idea?
Well, it's much broader, of course, from the aircraft and even the TBI's plane, broader than the helicopter. But we're looking at probably, I know on foot, we've scoped that down with the grids, probably a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile radius, but the aircraft are going miles outside, and maybe a 2-mile radius of Clyde and down.
And again, so the helicopter will stay up through the night with FLIR and things like that.
As long as the pilots take these agencies have development resources, as long as we still active with the search, from my understanding, they're going to do everything they can. And I know PBI said that their resources are here throughout the night as well. It's amazing everything working together. Our goal is to keep it great and found safely, and we can get it back to his family.
Do you recommend neighbors come out here overnight and search as well, or?
No, we wouldn't recommend that because it's a different skill set once we lose daylight, and we wouldn't want to have to start looking for other citizens that possibly get lost in the woods or get injured while they're out in the dark, and that would pull our resources to have to respond to that. We thank y'all for covering it and letting everyone know what he looks like, and we'll try to get you some information as soon as we can on where we'll stage in the morning. We may move it from the fire hall because we were limited on parking, and move it to one of the churches local. We're trying to make those connections now, but we may ask y'all to search that out for us to let the volunteers know where we'll be in the morning. We're looking at 7:30 in the morning, and we'll get those distance to you back.
Any updates tonight?
Yeah, as we go throughout the night, we'll try to keep you posted. I don't know how long you'll, your agent or your stations will let you stay here with us, but we'll get it out either through the social media or we have everyone's email contacts for each of your stations. We'll make sure to keep you posted on it.
Thank you, sure.
Okay, thank y'all.
All right, folks, I know you couldn't hear a lot of what Sheriff Bledsoe was saying, Sheriff Dixon County Sheriff. I'm going to try and recap it here for those of you watching. So this is just really speaks to the incredible effort that a lot of these agencies have been going through. He talked about pumping some of the ponds out to search them. He says they have searched all the ponds and waterways in the area. The TBI and other helicopters will be remaining up in the air with infrared technology trying to find the boy overnight. And they are eventually going to move this staging area potentially to a different location. The sheriff said that he did not recommend that that neighbors continue to search. He said that they will have other crews out here searching throughout the night, professionals, but he said because of the different skill set that's required in searching at night, he recommended that neighbors and others in the area do not come out here and search overnight. But again, this is Jason Lamb with News Channel 5 based out of Nashville. We are in Dixon County, Tennessee, Tennessee City, just west of Nashville. And we're noticing, of course, more and more people coming in to this Facebook Live broadcast, this live active search for a 5-year-old, a missing 5-year-old autistic boy, Joe Daniels. He is nonverbal, so he can't speak, which is certainly complicating this search as the sun goes down. We just got an update from the Dixon County Sheriff Bledsoe, who gave us an update on the search crews.
So again, that's Jason Lamb, News Channel 5 on Facebook. Check him out. I just wanted to share this. Lord Jesus, just shelter this baby. I know there's a hedge of strong and mighty angels that encamp around us. Lead, guide, and direct their path. Amen, Jennifer Blakely Booth. And there's another prayer here. Tammy Jo Branning Martin. That's a great idea. Praying for the family. God, please protect this little child. Bring him home safe to his mommy. Send your angels to guide him and protect him. In Jesus' mighty name for this little boy. Amen. That was 3 years ago. Prayer for me is always welcome. It's always a good thing. It's so sad in this case that he hasn't come home to mommy. Furthermore, mommy caught some charges in this whole thing. But we'll get to that.
Now, crews search for an endangered 5-year-old boy. Joe Clyde Davis has not been seen since last night. News Channel 5's Jason Lamb is in Dixon tonight, where the search is still underway at this time. Jason, the little boy doesn't speak?
That's right. He's also autistic. Those factors are complicating this search. We're off of Garner's Creek Road here in Dixon near the boy's home, where you can see it is awfully busy back there. Now, if you're turned away from the screen, I want you to look at this. This is a picture of the boy that they are looking for. This 5-year-old, Joe Clyde Davis, has been missing since overnight. Somehow, after his parents put him to bed, he unlocked the door to his home and left. His parents discovered him gone around 6:30 this morning. Now take a good look. He was last seen wearing black pajamas with a skeleton on it. Meanwhile, the search today has been extensive. Crews used dogs to track the boy's scent. On top of that, helicopters have been in the air every 30 minutes or so. But perhaps most impressive has been the turnout of volunteers to look for Joe. At least 40 or 50 people have come out, meeting at the Tennessee City Fire Hall in organized groups to search for him, looking over every square inch of land nearby to see where he could be hiding. Of course, the hope is they can find him before the sun goes down, when the task will get a lot more difficult. We talked to a volunteer searcher who's also a mother. She says she had to come out and help look for the boy.
Well, anytime anything happens around here, everybody jumps in and helps. I probably wouldn't live anywhere else just because of that. Everybody's pretty close and helps everybody out.
Now, the sheriff's office is no longer asking for volunteers to come out. They cut off that time around 4 o'clock tonight. We'll wait and see what elements of the search continues after sundown. We're hearing helicopters still in the air right now. Now, you can share pictures of this missing boy if you want to help. You can find those pictures on my Facebook page right now. Go to Jason Lamb NC5 and you can share the post from there. Live in Dixon tonight, Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
Just wanted to bring this back up because the reporter, I'm assuming, made a mistake. I haven't heard the last name Davis at all in this case, but they just described him as Joseph Davis, and I believe that was a huge typo. His name is Joseph Daniels. Hair blue, hair blonde, eyes blue. Hair blonde, eyes blue. Joseph Daniels. This is directly from the Tennessee Endangered Alert that went out, remember, back in 2019. We are rolling through this story from beginning to end so that we all understand and we can all start to tell his story. I think it got a lot of coverage initially. I'm proud of how the TBI came out, and as you can see, the volunteers are just heaven sent. Super shout out to them, every single one of them out there in the cold at night, Thank you. Thank you so much. But we're going to keep rolling. Oh, I have so much to say, but I want to let the story unfold. And best believe we're going to chat about this one.
You can see some of the search and rescue crews behind me. This is all the search for 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels, who went missing after his parents put him to bed Tuesday night. This is a bus of volunteers who have come to also help out in the search. One update on that is they've had so many volunteers show up this morning that they're actually turning people away for now. If he's still missing by tonight, they might call out another wave of volunteers. We just got an update from the sheriff, and I have a couple of important updates to give you from that. Someone did report seeing someone who matched his description Tuesday night after he had allegedly walked out of the door and gone missing. His parents say he has an autism disorder and has left before. He's very smart, knows how to unlock the door. So despite their best efforts to keep him inside, he did leave the house after they put him to bed. So someone did see him in the road. They thought he might have been older than he actually was. Another thing to note, they've had some search dogs out here. 2 of them alerted to his scent near the boy's home. It led up to a pond, which they drained, but then that scent dropped off. So they're working on that now, seeing if there's anything more to that. Also, search crews found what they think is his footprint. At this point, this is still a search and rescue effort. They have no reason to believe that foul play is suspected, but they're not ruling anything out, just hoping to find this boy. You may have remembered some of the awful weather that we had Tuesday night. Strong storms blew through here in a lot of Middle Tennessee. That's the night that he left and went missing. And since then, overnight tonight, it was below freezing. So if he's still out there, he's been out in some really harsh temperatures. That is one of the many reasons they're so worried about this guy. Another reason that might make it a little more difficult for the search and rescue effort is that he is nonverbal. So he's not going to be calling out, they don't think, for help. Obviously, his family's distraught. So many people have come out to help, though. It really shows you this town coming together, this part of Dickson County near Tennessee City. So any other updates that we get on this story will be on newschannel5.com. That's the latest update that we have now. Anything else will also be in our shows on News Channel 5.
Quick update. I believe I said 2019 just previously here, but Joe actually went missing 2018. Okay. 2018. It was actually on April 4th of 2018. And as you can see from this article here, it was updated on April 5th, 2018. So we're excuse me. So yeah, 2018, April 4th. And if you don't know his story and you're just joining, I invite you to replay, definitely, when you have the time. But we are looking for a 5-year-old autistic, nonverbal little boy at this time in this video. But this happened April 4th, 2018. Now let's keep rolling.
To give everyone an update to where we're at this point, as you saw, the bus just came in. They'll drop off the people from the agencies and organizations here at the command post, and then those that are left on the bus are going back to the church where we're having our civilians come in and sign up for the volunteers. And right now that's ending up our second phase for today, but we're going to go into a third phase and push it as long as we can until it starts to get dark. And again, as we said previously, once we start losing daylight, we don't want the volunteers out in the conditions without the proper training to where they could possibly get lost or injured as well. So it's a safety factor, and then it would pull our resources to have to look for them. And at this point, our third phase will be coming in shortly and be going out with our team leaders, and we'll be working that up through the night and looking at what we can utilize with K9s that'll be on scene. And there are some of the agencies here at this point that have the training in search and rescue and have the capabilities for the night search and rescue. So we'll still be working our grids. We're expanding that out. We've covered approximately a mile out, and now we're expanding that out past the mile, and everything around this point, even north of us, everything's being considered as we work it out.
Any new signs of anything out there?
No, sir. Right now, just staying course of what we're doing with searching each area that we've laid out as a grid, but nothing new at this point.
You said that you all are expanding the search. Is beyond the fact that you haven't seen anything within your immediate area, any reason to go beyond that? Have you all seen anything, think anything may be out there?
We haven't seen anything or have any indicators, but we know from prior cases and learning from other agencies that's dealt with this that we're looking at distance, and depending on the condition of the person and their abilities, and him being a young child, that he may be more physically capable to get off further than that. So some of the other searches that we have been told about maybe went up to close to 1.5 miles to 2 miles out. So we want to look at all of those options and not just limit ourselves to that mile radius. So we're not really gauging it by that. We just tell you that to give you an idea of what we focused on up to this point, but we don't know how far that will grow or extend at this point. We're just going to try to exhaust every effort, and while we have volunteers coming in, it's a perfect opportunity to put them with our team leaders. And again, I would ask if anyone, today we should have enough volunteers to finish out this third wave, but we'll start again at 9 a.m. in the morning and start with our first phase of grid searches again. And we ask if you are going to volunteer to be here early for that, because we'll have a limited number as to what we can send out with the teams. And to dress appropriately. Tomorrow, forecast is saying that we may encounter some rain, and you'll need to have some rain gear and be prepared for some cold weather, and have your footwear to where you can be off in areas that may be water over your ankles. So, and be physically capable of going up and down the hills and through thickets and briars, because the way we search in those straight line patterns, we try to stay close to each other, and if it's even a thick thing of briars, we're going to try to go through that and look as we're going through.
How concerning is it, though, with the weather being cold last night, cold tomorrow, raining tomorrow, with him being out, no shoes, only pajamas?
It's a big concern for us, and it has been since we arrived on scene, knowing the weather conditions. Our hope is that there's somewhere that he could get out of the elements and maybe sheltered from the wind or the colder temperatures, and our hope is that he's still faring well, and we just got to get to him.
With him having autism, do you think the loud noises, the helicopter, the people yelling out his name could be scaring him into hiding?
Well, information that we have from the family to this point, and he's very fascinated with aircraft, especially helicopters, and that's something that he's encountered at school before on the field trips or when they visited the school. So we felt that would be an asset, that he may come out and try to wave to the pilot or point at the aircraft. And we also have some specialists that's been with us along the way, along with family and teachers, that have given us an accurate depiction of what to expect. And we don't see any reason that he would try to run or be afraid of us. But, under the circumstances and the conditions, we just don't know. And we work it from every angle as we can, and know that the family's given us the most accurate information.
There was talk of some tips that were called in early this morning. Did any of those prove to be valid at all?
Nothing at this point. There were some potentials that people saw some children that looked similar to Joe, and each one of those was checked out and was not a valid tip. Several things that have pulled us in different directions outside of the scope of the scene, but we've got the personnel with all the agencies supporting us, and our internal detectives are working leads as they come in, and we're just going where we're needed. It stretches our resources then, but everything's followed through.
Now that you're getting into the second night of this, talk to us a little bit more about what you're telling the family as they kind of just continue and hope for Joe to come back.
Well, with the people that I have that's been at the scene, and that's something that I'm planning on going to talk to them later, because they've been busy today working with us and answering questions and being available to help us with anything that we may think of that needs to be asked. But they've been great to work with, and I hope that I'm not sure if I answered your question or not with that, but what was the rest
And
of it?
Is there something that you're telling the family at this point now that you're getting into the second
Oh,
night?
yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. We let them know along the way what we're doing, each step of the way, and what we're doing with each agency that's here that's helping, and how we've laid out our search patterns and how we're overlaying those where they're on a map, and with the GPS tracking that's laying that on there, so they know exactly what resources are here and each step of the way what we're doing, and we're trying to make sure their needs are accommodated as they're here at their home too. So there's been a huge outpouring in the community that people have brought the foods and drinks for us, so we're making sure that the family's taken care of with that as well. So there's just a lot of outreach going on at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank y'all.
And to avoid getting the inside scoop.
So before we roll on, let's just make sure we all are aware that we are only on day 2. TBI, I don't know if it's just how they get down or what, but not just the TBI. Dixon County, all of the volunteers, they were all over it for baby Joe. They were concentrating in the area near and around his home. Sound familiar? But please keep in mind, this is just day 2, because I'm telling you, after that, things got cray-cray, as my son would say. Things just started popping off, and it was like, wait, whoa, what? So, hang on to your hats. We're getting there. Let's take a look at Sky 5 aerials, Joe Clyde Daniels search. What a massive area. All the donations for the searchers. Awesome. Dixon County Emergency Management Agency out there. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the TBI. Search and rescue. Mobility vans, I guess we'll call them. Wilderness water disaster. They had hundreds of volunteers. Wow. I'm not sure what he's doing, but that's interesting. Maybe just searching. I would say they pulled out all the stops. Thank God for that. That says daily tree service. You see lots of little ponds. They said they searched every one. quite a few neighbors around them, not as rural as Rogersville or the Ben Hill Creek little community. Just as many woods and thickets. That's the bus with the searchers being transported to and fro. Such an expansive area to have no idea where that baby went. I cannot imagine being one of those searchers. I mean, you want to just teleport and be everywhere at once, but thank God we got the helicopters flying and the searchers on the ground, thermal cameras, sonars. Thank God for technology that we can see through this sort of terrain, because look at that. 1,000,000 people couldn't search this terrain. So we're still rolling through this aerial footage because my God, my God, my God, it's just so intense for me anyway. Watching this, knowing that they're searching for this little boy, knowing a lot more about how this story turns out. There's so much I want to say already, but I'm trying to roll through this. Oh man, the search efforts are amazing. We'll just say that for now. Let's just look at a little more of this aerial search or footage from the search. Just rough. It's just really, really rough to watch that, thinking about what they might find, where they might find him. This is an excellent video. As you can see, it's over an hour long. Sky 5 Aerials, News Channel 5, Nashville. This was live, and you should certainly check this out. I wish I could share the whole thing. I could share the whole thing. There's so much more to this story that we have to get into. Just a little bit more of the aerial. And in these cases where we're not necessarily sure exactly what happened and when it happened, that gives the culprits a lot of time to hide these babies, dead or alive. Look at all the church. Thank you, Jesus. Look at all the terrain. Look at all the area that they have where they could have totally placed his body. If he wasn't, of course, kidnapped or abducted or whatever the story is that some of these parents want to tell. The glitches and things that you guys are seeing in some of the footage, remember, rural Tennessee, they just don't have the best signal. Where is baby Joe? That was the question then, and that's still the question now. Where the hell is baby Joe? Mom and Dad, can we at least give him a decent burial? Can you find the decency in your heart to be the parents that, as we're going to soon find out in this twisted web, you weren't? Can you at least do right by him? And give him a decent burial? Let's keep rolling. All right, let's get into the thick of things. Here is the 911 call from the father of baby Joe, Joseph Clyde Daniels.
Call 1 on Wednesday, April 4th, 2018, at 6:22 a.m. with a GMT offset of -300 minutes. Agent ID is extension is 106.
When, where is
is your emergency?
Yes, this is Dixon County 911.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I live on 1112 Garners Creek Road, and my son has escaped, and we cannot find him.
Okay, how old is your son, sir?
He is 5.
Okay, you said you live at 1112?
He has autism. Yes.
Okay, and you said he has autism?
Yes.
Okay, how long ago was he last seen?
Last night.
Okay, all right. And what's his name?
His name is Joe.
What's his last name?
Daniels.
What was he wearing last night?
He was wearing pajamas.
What kind of pajamas? What do they look like?
I tell you, my wife would know better than I would on that.
Okay. Do you know how he got out of the house?
He must have unlocked the door.
Okay.
And he got out.
What's his date of birth?
7/30/12.
Okay, sir. And you said his name was Joe. What was his last name?
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yes.
Okay. And what's your last name, sir?
Daniels.
Okay, what's your first name?
Joseph.
All right, Joseph. And what does he look like?
He's got blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Okay.
And,
Okay, blonde hair, blue eyes. Anything else? How tall is he?
He's about, I would say about 3.5, 4 feet tall.
4 feet tall. How much does he weigh?
65 pounds.
65 pounds? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, do you know anywhere where he would go from your house?
I do not know, because we don't know any other names except for one neighbor. So I do not know where he would have gone.
Okay, is he nonverbal or is he verbal?
He's nonverbal.
Nonverbal?
Yes.
Okay, and how severe is his autism?
He's also got ADHD with it too, so that doesn't help anything matters. So, but it's not so severe, but it's pretty significant where he can't talk and he's unable to communicate.
Okay.
And we have to. He tries to pay himself, but we have to pay him.
Okay. All right, sir. And what's your phone number?
629 867 6984.
Okay. And did he take anything with him out of his room?
I didn't see anything that he took out of his room.
No stuffed animals, no blanket or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right, Joe. We're going to get him en route to you, okay? Just hang out right there at 1112. We're going to get him out there to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So, a lot of mixed reviews in the comments when this was aired. We heard, oh, be nice to him. Don't judge him. We don't know him. And then we heard others saying, he sounds really calm to me. I think I'd be freaking out if I were making that call. April 4th, 6:22 in the morning. You wake up and realize your 5-year-old is not in their bed. Not only that, but you know, for a fact, allegedly, that they have walked out of your front door and you don't know when. And then you make this call. Y'all know I'm not into telling people what to think or how to feel, but I am into telling you to think and to feel. And with that said, we're just going to listen again.
Where's your emergency?
Yes, this is Dixon County 911.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I live on 1112 Garners Creek Road, and my son has escaped, and we cannot find him.
Okay, how old is your son, sir?
He is 5.
Okay, and you said you live at 1112?
He has autism.
I do want to point out the choice of wording here. When he called them, he said his son had escaped. That's just a weird choice of words. Was he locked up? Confined? Well, some of the things they introduce in this trial tell me absolutely, at some point in time, that baby was held captive by his parents. But they didn't know that at the time of this call. Let's continue.
Said he has autism?
Yes.
Okay, how long ago was he last seen?
Last night.
Okay, all right. And what's his name?
His name is Joe.
What's his last name?
Daniels.
What was he wearing last night?
He was wearing pajamas.
What kind of pajamas? What do they look like?
I tell you what, my wife would know better than I would on that.
Okay. And do you know how he got out of the house?
He must have unlocked the door.
Okay.
And he got out.
What's his date of birth?
7/30/12.
Okay, sir. And you said his name was Joe. What was his last name?
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yes.
Okay. And what's your last name, sir?
Daniels.
Okay, what's your first name?
Joseph.
All right, Joseph. And what does he look like?
He's got blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Okay.
And,
Okay, blonde hair, blue eyes. Anything else? How tall is he?
He's about, I would say 4, about 3.5, 4 feet tall.
4 feet tall. How much does he weigh?
65 pounds.
65 pounds? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know anywhere where he would go from your house?
I do not know, because we don't know. He has an answer for one neighbor. So I do not know where he would have gone.
Okay. Is he nonverbal or is he verbal?
It's nonverbal.
Nonverbal?
Yes.
Okay. And how severe is his autism?
He's also got ADHD with it too, so that doesn't help anything matters. So, but it's not so severe, but it's pretty significant where he can't talk and he's unable to communicate.
Okay.
And we have to. He tries to bathe himself, but we have to bathe him.
Okay. All right, sir. And what's your phone number?
629 867 6984.
Okay. And did he take anything with him out of his room?
I didn't see anything that he took out of his room.
No stuffed animals, no blanket or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right, Joe. We're going to get him in route to you, okay? Just hang out right there at 1112. We're going to get him out there to you, okay?
So as I said, we're getting into the thick of things. And there's twists and turns. I know you've probably already got your suspicions, but I'm going to tell you. The jury has already deliberated at this point in life, meaning June 30th, 2021. That's a done deal. But on the day of this recording that Nick Barris made and went live on Facebook, all we had was the 911 call and Well, a confession from Dad. We'll just take a listen.
All right, Nick Barris going live for you right now. This is on a Saturday morning, and it's a sad morning. Excuse my appearance here. I'm here to get an update and get some information out to you on the tragic development involving the situation, the search for 5-year-old Joe Daniels. If you're wondering why I'm dressed this way, this morning I had to go down and MC a charity run, and then after that I was going to head to Dickson County and assist with the volunteers in the search. And then that's when I heard that the TBI was holding a news conference at 9 o'clock. And like many of you, I followed that streaming live on newschannel5.com to learn the horribly tragic news that they've arrested Joseph Daniels overnight. My understanding is he was actually brought in and booked at 6:30 this morning. And the allegation for that, the comment is that the TBI was able to get a confession from him. The thinking is that very late Tuesday or early Wednesday of this past week, he murdered his son, killed his son in their home, hid the body, and then this entire elaborate ruse that he had wandered off, which over the past several days, all of these wonderful volunteers and law enforcement, in a race against time trying to rescue a child they thought was wandering, scared, alone, in the wilderness there in Dickson County. Well, now we know that the father's been charged. He's in the Dickson County jail as we speak on $1 million bond. And just wanted to take some of your questions or comments on this. My observations, as many of you know, I actually was, I think, one of the only reporters to talk. He called me with the father. This was on Thursday night. And I posted here to what he said. And, he just talked about his concern and a little bit about his son and, how he's thankful for the support. And he lied to me like he lied to everyone else. Law enforcement at the news conference this morning basically said that the district attorney asked investigators to shift on Friday to a criminal investigation. Up until that point, everyone, I think, wanted to believe the story that this child had wandered off and maybe somehow, some way, he was alive out there. I will say this, and I said this in the newsroom to people the day this happened. I said, you know what? Hopefully the child wandered off and they find him quickly. But if they don't find him very quickly, then almost always it comes back to someone who knew him, a family member or something like that. I really suspected, I didn't know who from the very beginning, that foul play was involved. But early on, law enforcement had no indication of that. What is it, and we don't know yet, what is it that led law enforcement to make this arrest? And we should say right now, the mother is not charged with any crime, not under arrest, though the case remains open. But I think one of the big things that really had law enforcement scratching their heads was, okay, if this child wandered from the house, was basically barefoot or in footy pajamas, there would be the scent that the canine unit would hit on. And all we heard was that there were a few footprints found and a very vague scent that ended up near a pond, but they drained the pond. The child wasn't there. That could have been residual scent left from the child earlier. They never found any more beyond the yard or anything along those lines. And they're just like, wait, these dogs have strong sense of smell and did not hit on a scent. And that had to be one thing that had them scratching their heads. Wait a second. It doesn't appear as though he's in the ponds. The dogs aren't hit on any scent. Did he ever really walk out here? And I think at that point, at length, the parents were questioned over and over and over again. And I have a feeling that in the course of those questions, the story might have changed, or, the father, ended up contradicting himself. These investigators are very good at what they do. I don't know the details of what it was that the father told them, but eventually, according to law enforcement, he cracked and confessed that at some point on late Tuesday night or early Wednesday, we don't know if this was something he planned all along, or maybe, this is an autistic child, can sometimes be a handful. Did he kill the child accidentally? Regardless, it doesn't matter, because he tried to cover it up. And, there's no excuse for harming a child in this situation, regardless of the reason. I'm just curious how it came about and what he's told them. What is interesting at this hour is they still have not, as far as we know, recovered the body. During the news conference, the TBI didn't go into detail about whether or not the father told them specifically where the body was. If they were out looking for it, yes, they are. I believe that they know probably where the body is and that they have set up a crime scene and they haven't brought the child back in yet, okay? But they do certainly believe, unfortunately, that the child is dead. But I think they have an idea where the body is. I would assume if the father confessed, he told them something along those lines. But they're not just going to go in there willy-nilly, bring the child out, and no, they have to set up a crime scene. They're going to have to process it. This is now a criminal case. Even with this alleged confession, it's anyone's guess, what will happen once the father gets a lawyer, likely a public defender, and then is he going to try to defend himself? Is he going to claim he didn't do it? Is he going to claim it was an accident? All those types of things. All right. So we don't know. When will we learn more about the details of this? A preliminary hearing, okay, will be scheduled. A date is not set, but it'll likely be within the next week or so. At that preliminary hearing, law enforcement will present what it was that led them to the arrest of this individual. Wonder if he drowned him in the pond and hit him. We don't know. We will find out at the preliminary hearing. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, a lot of people suspected something was fishy here. The mother's name is, I believe, Crystal Daniels. That's what some people here are saying as well. Again, you find it hard to believe that maybe the mother had no idea about this, but trust me, law enforcement's not stupid. They're questioning her, and they're not going to cut her any slack if they think she's involved. So they're working that side of the case, and if they had some evidence to tie her to it, you bet they would have her already in custody with the father. That's not done deal yet, but it's not fair to say that she's involved until we hear officially if she's charged by the police. But just imagine for a moment if she truly was completely in the dark on this. How devastating is this for her? One fell swoop, she's lost her husband, who now we know is an awful person, and she's lost a child. And my heart goes out to her if she truly was in the dark on all this. My heart thinks about her and her family and everyone else. So, and trust me on this, by the way, if they have the confession, they have the video, that's very powerful. But for the prosecution of this case, they definitely, in my opinion, need to recover the body. It makes the prosecution that much more strong, the case against the individual. They want to recover the body. You can prosecute and convict without it. But aside from the criminal case against the father, I just think it's very important that this child's remains be recovered so that he can be given a proper burial, and may he rest in peace.
Nick Barris, Channel 5. Everyone, please check out his whole Facebook page. He is really, really into the children and telling their stories. He is very fair. He will reserve his judgment until evidence comes out, but you'll find, especially in the aftermath videos, he's usually on point. He has his suspect in his head, and he's been on point. So I definitely recommend checking out Nick Barris. He's also covering Summer Wells right now. Is in the Tennessee area. And he hit on a lot of really good points here. Specifically, I just want to point out what he said about the mom. At this point, on April 7th, 2018, when he went live, mom was not a suspect. Mom had no charges. Dad had confessed, but there was still no body. Unlike Terrell Rhodes, he didn't do us the honor of drawing a crappy map that showed exactly where baby Amari's body was left. Joe Clyde Daniels didn't do that for baby Joe. And I can tell you here, 3 years later, we still don't know where baby Joe is. Let's keep rolling.
When the 911 call came in from Joseph Daniels about his 5-year-old son,
my son had been scared and we cannot find him.
First first responders sprang into action.
It wasn't uncommon to be called out there because little Joe had left the house. I think that's kind of what threw everybody off a little bit on this one.
A few days into the around-the-clock search, the focus shifted.
When Joseph Daniels admitted to me that he had killed Joe Clyde.
Donning a T-shirt with the phrase "Super Dad" printed on the chest, Daniels was taken in for questioning.
Joseph Daniels admitted that the original story was a lie, that he beat Joe Clyde, resulting in his death. So Joe Clyde placed him in the trunk of his car and took him to a remote area where he dumped and disposed of his body.
Joseph Daniels led authorities to the area. They searched and they couldn't find the body of baby Joe. And then his story changed.
I am now telling you the truth about that part. I placed baby Joe's body in the pond right there on the right side of the dirt road.
Still no signs of the child's body.
Anybody that owns a farm or owns a house in this area talks about how every time they go out, they still look places for him. They're still scared that, you know, if they go out, they're gonna find remains.
But those remains may never be found.
He wanted to tell us where the body was, but he couldn't. He stated that he doesn't want people to see what he's done to Joe Clyde.
The tight-knit community feeling a sense of responsibility for the nonverbal boy with autism.
When his father confessed, it created a weight for a lot of people of like, man, this is almost more my burden to carry.
Disappointed they hadn't done more beforehand to keep the child safe.
I think having closure for that is something that not just first responders need, but I think our entire community needs.
Hoping to know more.
State of Tennessee versus Joseph Ray Daniels.
When the case goes to trial in June, finally answering the lingering question.
Where do I think baby Joe is? You ask the community where he's at? Up in heaven.
Alex Dennis, News 2.
A surprising development in the disappearance of 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels. One of the suspects, the little boy's mother, is taking back key details that she shared under questioning with the TBI, and that could have a big impact on the trial. Here's more now from News Channel 5's Nick Barris.
Crystal Daniels tells me she's changing her story, which implicated her husband, and this could be a very big turn of events in a case that has very little physical evidence. The problem with both Crystal and Joseph Daniels is you simply don't know what to believe. Their son Joe Clyde disappeared from the family's Dixon County home nearly 2 years ago. The 5-year-old is assumed dead, but no remains have ever been found. His father Joseph is charged with homicide, Crystal with aggravated child neglect. The TBI says she told them she found her husband standing with fists clenched over a motionless Joe Clyde. He saw her and...
She said that Mr. Daniels, Joseph Daniels, did take a swing at her. He didn't hit her, and told her that if she told anybody that he would kill her.
That incriminating statement is one key to the prosecution. But now, in a phone interview, Crystal says she's taking that story back.
Yes, I am very frustrated, and just, you know, and I do understand that if I wouldn't have felt pressured, because at the time of the interview that I've done with TBI, I was not on my mental health meds, and I do feel like I was pressured. There is such thing as false confession, and I mean, I regret every bit of what I said.
It's a real mess when you start changing your story like that.
Legal analyst Nick Leonardo says after initially cooperating with the TBI, Crystal seems to now be siding with her husband. And that could be a big problem come trial. Remember, Joseph Daniels initially confessed to killing his son Joe Clyde, but then recanted. Now Crystal appears to be doing the very same thing. What will the jury believe? Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
Crystal and Joseph Daniels are scheduled to stand trial in August. Both remain locked up on a $1 million bond each.
If you will have a seat. All right, I am advised that you have been able to reach a verdict. Is that correct? As foreman, would you stand and let me address? What I'd like to do is go through this verdict form with you, and starting with count one of the indictment as to the charge of first-degree murder. How does the jury find?
Not guilty, sir.
All right. And the lesser included offense of second-degree murder. How does the jury find?
Guilty, sir.
All right. Then as to count two of the indictment, as to the charge of first-degree murder in the perpetration of a felony crime, how does the jury find?
Guilty, sir.
Right. As to count three of the indictment, as to the charge of aggravated child abuse, how does the jury find?
Guilty, sir.
As to count four of the indictment, the charge of initiating a false report, how does the jury find?
Guilty, sir.
And as to count five of the indictment, tampering with evidence, how does the jury find?
Guilty, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to each affirm that this is, in fact, your unanimous verdict. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So the record reflects that the juries have all unanimously affirmed this is their verdict. As the 13th juror, this court affirms this jury's verdict as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this has been a tough 8, 9 days, whatever it's been, 10 days that you've been here with us. I can only tell you that on behalf of the entire Dickson County, we and the 23rd Judicial District, we thank you for your service. You've given it a lot of attention, a lot of effort, and taken it very seriously as your role as the jurors. So thank you for your assistance, and you may now exit the courtroom unless there's something. Is there anything that either side has before I discharge the jury? All right. Then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You may return to the jury room, and we'll make arrangements for your transportation. If you'll hand that to the bailiffs, they'll turn that in. So. All right, the jury has reached their verdict, and I have affirmed that verdict. As the parties, as the lawyers know, that the count one and count two of the indictment would be merged based upon the jury's findings. We would need to set a sentencing hearing for the remaining counts, which would be 3 through 5, and the sentencing hearing date that I can propose would have to be in September. At any reason we can't do it at our normal Dickson County docket, we'll have a pre-sentence report prepared, and then we'll have a sentencing hearing on September the 14th at 1 p.m. That's the jail docket, 1 o'clock. All right. Based upon those facts, then the court will remand Mr. Daniels to the custody of the Dickson County Sheriff's Department pending the sentencing hearing on September the 14th. I know this has been a difficult case for both the defense and for the state, and I would just like to say that I think you've both done an admirable job of representing your respective interests, and I thank you for your cooperation in helping this case to go.
From blood on a coffee table to a hair that links key DNA evidence, it's the small details of what happened in Dickson County 3 years ago that led to murder charges for the parents of little 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels.
The intent was to take the defendant to a location where he stated that he would be able to provide us for the location where the child was.
With his head in his hands, Joseph Daniels listened to hours of powerful testimony. This investigator described how Daniels revisited the rural areas where the father says he disposed of his son. As News 2's Eric Egan explains, it's those small details that help piece together the puzzle of what happened in April of 2018.
Changing stories, emotions ran the gamut during Thursday's testimony. Many of the details heard in court for the first time of Joe Daniels interacting with investigators days after his son's disappearance. Baby Joe's body has never been found, but his father asked agents to take him to several bridges in Hickman County, claiming that's where he took the child.
The information that he had described during this encounter with Mr. Daniels was that he had placed the child off of the bridge into the water.
Into the water?
Yes, sir.
Agents described Daniels as inconsistent, often crying.
He elaborated that he drove his son's body in the trunk to Hickman County. Once we were able to get to the Pioneer River, that's where he stated that he took the body from the trunk of the vehicle and threw it over the bridge.
There were moments, according to testimony, Daniels tried putting blame on Baby Joe's mom, Crystal Daniels, who's charged with separate crimes. Thursday, the prosecution also citing evidence involving DNA on a shovel.
Now, are you familiar with the evidence of a hair that was collected on a shovel at the residence of the defendant?
Yes, sir, I am.
So, did you know that we have the mitochondrial DNA matching that of Crystal Daniels?
I had been told that at one point by the case agent at the time.
Ultimately, testimony pointed to Daniels beating his son with a closed fist, but claiming he could not remember where the body was. In other moments, more confusion. Daniels reportedly often asking to talk to officers, like in this video. Daniels tells a deputy Baby Joe was in different areas.
Yeah, he said there might be different places.
Yes, sir.
He wasn't sure exactly where he was going to be taking them to. He just said in his mind there might be different places, correct?
That's what he stated, yes, sir.
Eric Egan, News 2.
It this morning, all new this morning, exclusive video evidence that is sure to be part of the high-profile Joe Clyde Daniels case. Nick obtained a copy and is here with the first look in the 5 Alert update. Good morning, Nick.
Yeah, interesting. This is some of the first video and photos that I've seen showing the 5-year-old with his parents. Keep in mind, Joseph, the father, is charged with homicide in the death of his son, the mother with child neglect, but the boy's body has never been found. Now, let me explain what you are going to see right here. The video is from when Joe Clyde's parents took him for a sleep study. This was just a few weeks before he disappeared. Now, a sleep study is when doctors observe and take video to determine sleep patterns. This video was shot in the dark overnight in a sleep lab, and you'll notice Joe Clyde here is just rolling around on his father, and you'll also notice he's wearing the same pajamas with a skeleton pattern that he was wearing when he disappeared. So why the study? I'm told Joe Clyde's teachers noticed he was always tired in class, sometimes falling asleep. The grandparents say that Joe Clyde was not a sound sleeper and that he would often wake up in the middle of the night and then sometimes even wander outside of the home. On more than one occasion, he'd be missing from his bed and they would find Joe Clyde out in the yard. Now, the sleep study was to determine if there was a better way to help the child sleep through the night. So how does this factor into the case? Well, the grandparents and Joseph, the father's attorney, have told me that Joe Clyde may have wandered out of the house the night he disappeared, and their theory is that he was possibly abducted. And it is very likely that the jury will see this video at trial for the defense. Amy?
Emotions run high. Emotions run high as community members hold several vigils to honor 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels. This comes one day after his father was charged with his murder and confessed to killing his son and hiding his body. Hundreds of people came together to remember Joe Clyde at a prayer service. It was a packed house at the Friendship Baptist Church just 2 miles from Daniels' home. There were at least 3 other vigils honoring Joe Clyde held in the area. Tonight, we are hearing from Joe Clyde's grandmother for the first time. She talked with News Channel 5's Matthew Torres. And Matthew, she has a message for the community.
Emily, that's right. His grandmother tells me that she is cooperating with law enforcement. Her own family had their gathering at the same house where this 5-year-old boy used to call home.
How's the family doing since learning about the news?
Well, right now we're just feeling like it's a nightmare, and we're just hoping it'll get closure soon. When we found out about it, oh, my heart just sunk because we didn't know nothing what was going on. And when they couldn't get no leads or nothing, I thought maybe somebody abducted him.
You were hearing Belle Daniels, the grandmother of 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels and the stepmother of the accused killer, his father, Joseph Daniels. She agreed to the interview but requested not to be on camera. She says that she and her husband were in Texas when they found out that their grandson disappeared. Investigators say Joseph Daniels confessed to the murder despite his 911 call, saying his son, who had autism, walked out the morning of April 4th. She returned the day before her son was arrested.
It was shocking because you raise a child from way back. You think, you know him, you don't think a child, he would kill his own baby.
She emphasized to me tonight that she is appreciative of all the work from the law enforcement, churches, the media, and of course the volunteers who have helped out in this case. Now, we have learned from the Dickson County Sheriff's Office, who I just got on the phone with, that they will continue to search for the body, which remains to be a mystery at this point. Tomorrow morning, he scaled back the recovery efforts last night to give crews much needed rest. Of course, we will continue to follow the latest developments in this search. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Matthew Torres, News Channel 5.
Good evening, everyone. They were supposed to keep him safe. Tonight, both parents of missing 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels are in jail for his death.
New court documents now say his mother was there when her husband allegedly beat their son to death. News Channel 5's Matthew Torres is back in Dickson County, where residents are demanding justice.
For the first time, we are seeing both parents together in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit. They appeared at the juvenile and probate court, likely regarding their 2 other children.
And to know somebody could just do something this bad is just,
I mean, there's too many people out there that can't have children. And for us being grandparents and losing one of our own, it's heartbreaking.
Emotions run high as more details emerge in the death of 5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels. His mother, Crystal Daniels, has been arrested for child endangerment or neglect.
I think she should have been charged with murder.
Newly released documents say she admitted to being present at the house when her son was killed. Joseph Daniels is accused of beating him to death before getting rid of the body in a rural area. She admitted to knowing he disposed of his body but never reported the abuse or the homicide. To this day, crews haven't found little Joe.
Everybody that come out here and put their time and effort to help look for this kid, give all these people the decency and the closure, and let's get that little baby's body found.
This couple was there when the boy was originally the subject of an endangered child alert. Placing flowers and balloons outside the Daniels' home was the least they could do.
Fly high, little Joe.
Details about the mother are surfacing. In a Facebook post in 2012, Crystal credited God for helping her battle schizophrenia and severe depression. She mentioned getting back her son and a custody battle, thanking her husband and cool mother-in-law for being by her side.
How are your other grandchildren?
That same mother-in-law checked out the flowers and balloons left in the driveway of the home. We first spoke to her after her stepson's arrest. She didn't know why he would commit the alleged crime. Today, a much different story, making this gesture when asked how she's doing. The Department of Children's Services says Joe Clyde's 2 other brothers are still in the care of other relatives. Both parents are expected to appear in court this Friday. Reporting in Dickson County, I'm Matthew Torres, News Channel 5.
Turning now to the case of baby Joe, Joseph Daniels will be serving life in prison with the possibility of parole in the death of his 5-year-old son. He was convicted of felony murder over the weekend. He will be jailed at Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville, where he was held for years prior to this trial. The mother of baby Joe, Crystal Daniels, is expected to be tried for aggravated child abuse and neglect. News 2's Josh Breslow takes a look at what we can expect in this case.
Crystal Daniels was arrested April 9, 2018, and charged with aggravated child neglect. 5 days earlier, around 6:22 that morning, her husband Joseph called 911 to report the couple's 5-year-old son, Joe Clyde, had escaped from their home in Dickson County.
I was on 1112, Garnes Creek Road, and my son has escaped and we cannot find him.
How does the jury find?
Guilty, sir. Joseph Daniels convicted over the weekend of felony murder after he confessed to fatally beating the boy who had autism and was nonverbal, then dumping his body in a rural area. The TBI saying Crystal Daniels was not directly involved in the killing of her son, but heard a loud scream, walked out of her bedroom, and saw Joe Clyde on the floor.
motionless, not moving, and Joseph standing over him with his fists clenched. She stated she never got close enough to check on him, not even to see his face. She went back to her room. She heard the car door shut. She came out of the room, saw that Joseph and Joe Clyde were gone. She said she went back to her room and went to sleep.
During her husband's trial, the prosecution revealed a Facebook conversation between the then 27-year-old and her boyfriend in Wichita, Kansas, a few days prior to the murder, detailing how she planned to leave her husband. The key to that plan, $1,200 she received every month due to Joe Clyde's disability.
That planted the seed in the defendant's mind. My wife can't leave me without Joe Clyde because she needs the $1,200 a month she gets for his disability to be able to make it.
Crystal Daniels is jailed in Dickson County, where she's remained for more than 3 years pending her trial. Josh Breslow, News 2.